Now live. The February 19th, 2016 Small Business Accounting Advisors. Hello, everyone.
Hello, good night.
Hello.
Good afternoon, everybody.
How is everyone?
Great.
Good.
Surviving. I'm surviving.
Yeah, woke up on the right side of the lawn.
It has been one of those crazy weeks for me. Okay, Jen, let's start with you. You had a question. It was very good.
Yeah. So I was listening to the conversation. I was thinking, what do you do when you have those clients who are constantly dragging on you and weighing you down with extra problems and taking away from your efficiencies, but yet you're struggling to get paid? And I've seen so many recently in the Facebook groups about not getting paid on time and how do I collect from this, but I've already done the work. How do you prevent that? What do you do with these clients that you care for? Do you pass them on? What is that? What gets us going on that to get rid of them?
Yvette, do you want to start with that?
Yes, I can. Well, I could relate to that. Like I was saying, when I first got into this business, for a few years, I was having a difficult time collecting. I mean, like I said, I even literally would print the check out to them. All they had to do was sign it, send it to me, and they have the money. Some of them, they just don't want to pay. It's like I was their least important person to them. So one day, I had to hire a consultant to help me with the POS system, and this consultant. While we were at my clients, I got a phone call, and I normally don't pick up the phone, but this one client that was calling me was a client that owed me for a long time, and we were talking like close to a couple $1,000. And I stepped out, but she came out and went to her car to get something while I was out there, and she heard me talking to the client. So when I got back in, after I got off the phone, she said to me, "You need to get on ELBA." And I said, "What's ELBA?" She goes, "An engagement letter and billing authorization form." So anyways, she showed me what they used. And so I said, "Geez, I don't know if I could do that with my clients. I'll probably lose clients." She goes, "If they don't want to sign that, then you don't want them as a client. That means they don't want to pay you." So I made a promise to myself because things were getting so bad. I'm a single divorced mom. I own a home. And I struggled to make my mortgage payment. Yeah. And I said, there's no way I could live like this anymore. I lay awake at night just wondering who's going to pay me, So what I ended up doing, I said to myself, January 1st of this coming year, I'm going to send them a letter. That YMS Bookkeeping Services is changing the way that they do their billing. And we do everything on automation. Yep. And they each got their own contract, and that I had to take their engagement. The billing authorization form would give me, they have options to pay either with credit card, debit card, or a check, e-check, So all my clients, and I also upped my hourly rate at that time. Because this gal that was there told me I was charging too little for my services. So I had not one client that complained about my hourly rate. Most of my clients thanked me for putting on automation because some of them hated signing checks. Only one dragged their feet. And I told them if they didn't sign it, I couldn't continue doing service with them, giving them bookkeeping services. That was one point, okay? I got that, but then sometimes when I'd send them the bill, after I got to that along the way, they couldn't pay me sometimes right away. So then what I did is a few months later, especially last year, I started getting into monthly pricing. So now I have it where I have most of my clients, they have a contract of what is expected, what they're going to get. But before I do any work or any work is completed, on the first of the month, they get charged their monthly fee. And I close the books by the 5th. They get their reports and everything that I normally would give them. And I have it, so I have some clients that they get charged on the 1st, some on the 15th. So, and there's some that, so I basically have money coming in every couple of weeks or every other week or whatever. And it has worked like a charm. They know what to expect. They know that on the 1st, they're going to get charged X amount of dollars. And I'll tell you, it has freed me. And when I take on a new client, I tell them how we do business. And if ever somebody's complaining about it, I don't do business with them, period. Yep. I don't even go there. So that's how I did it.
I've done the same thing as you, Yvette. I've been lucky enough when I started my business to start with that type of thing for my bookkeeping clients. In addition to what you do, in my engagement letter, I also ask for a security deposit.
Yeah,
a 1 month security deposit. Should something happen and I don't get paid for a month, that covers that. But after that period, if I don't get paid, then that's it. I'm not going to be doing any more bookkeeping. And I've never had to get to that point. I've had clients that have had cash flow issues, but I feel like, if I'm doing their bookkeeping and they're having cash flow, I want to talk to them before the problem happens.
Right.
So that they always have money to pay me. It's in my best interest to help my clients be as profitable as possible. When they're profitable, they're happy to pay me.
Of course, you'd be one of the first ones to know, right? I mean, if you're doing the books, especially if it's doing on.
Oh, absolutely. If you're doing the books, you see,
Yeah, and
For clients, somebody before you.
Yeah, and for clients that are, big projects, like I get lots, some clients that have never had a bookkeeper, they're behind a couple years. So what I request before I even say I'm going to take this project on, I ask them for the first 3 months bank statements to that beginning year and the last 3 months statements to that year. To the most current year, and a back of their QuickBooks file or an invitation to QBO, because sometimes you get these accounts that are just so messed up. I don't care what they want to pay me. I don't even want to deal with it. And it also then gives me a good feel of the activity, how long it's going to take to do the bookkeeping. Right. And then I can gauge it, and I'm usually spot on. And of course, I always leave a little clause, in case an unforeseen issue comes up, but it has never failed me. And the people that are hesitant to give me that, well, I just tell them that's the only way. If you really want a fair estimate, that's what I need to do. And it also gives me insight if I even want to take that account on.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So, Yvette, did you have a lawyer write the contract, or did you just get a boilerplate contract off of the web?
I actually did some of it myself, and then I took it to my business attorney, and they kind of fine-tuned it for me.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Laura, I can barely hear you because I think Laura.
Well, I have a malpractice carrier for bookkeeping, and they had forms that I also cannibalized. So if you have bookkeeping malpractice, you can check with your carrier. They have samples. Yeah,
and I have errors in it. I mean, I have that professional insurance and errors.
The E&O. Yep.
Yes, because I also do payroll, a lot of payroll. And so that's good to have when you're doing payroll, to have that malpractice policy. And that you really just nailed it on the head, that you get paid in advance, that there's a set way you're doing things, and then the client pays you. And it also models for the client good practice, because many of them devalue themselves and need to raise their rates, need to do the same kind of practice that we do, where we're billing in advance for our work.
Yeah, and like I was saying, on big projects, I, give them what it's going to cost and half up front. And within 2 weeks before the work is even completed, I give them an exact date where the other portion is going to be deducted out of their account. So we're always paid before the work is complete.
Right. And I always have the 3 options. One option, I do it fast. One option, I'll do it on the medium. And then another option, they pay less for when it gets done in my time.
Like filling.
So then they have the 3 options. And then it's same thing with monthly. They have the basic DIY package, the moderate package, and then the platinum package. And then I have deliverables and things, and they have their choices. And they pay in advance for the work. And that's how I've done it.
Nice. Nice. Now, I just got a note from Larry. He's stuck in traffic. He wanted to join us, but apparently he's stuck in traffic.
Doesn't have Zoom on his phone.
Oh, yeah, great.
You'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
I know you can't text and drive. Can you Zoom and drive?
They've got a Zoom.
Brandon does it all the time.
Yeah, they've
Against the
got a
law.
Zoom, they've got a Zoom for the Android. I assume they got it for the iPhone too. I've never used it, but I've seen it.
Yeah, Brandon always comes in that way. But I think he has his phone mounted on his dashboard.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
Right, right.
Yeah, it'd be a little tricky.
So this is great for a consistent bookkeeping engagement. I handle my consulting, which is cleanup or training or any other type of QuickBooks, whatever I'm doing with the client. I do that hourly. I don't set up package pricing for that because I never know. Number one, I never know what I'm going to walk into when I walk in the door.
Yeah.
You know, the first contact, I talk to them on the phone and I make sure that I send them an email, and in that email is my billable hourly rate and how I bill. I tell them that I bill upon completion of work. So, and this is what my hourly rate is. I usually set up the first appointment for 2 hours and limit it to the 2 hours. Anything beyond that 2 hours generally becomes overload and counterproductive, just from prior experience.
Yeah.
If I'm training, you got to keep the first session to 2 hours.
That's what I found when I did training. After
Right,
that, they just go blank.
right,
Right. Yeah. After that, you get the blank stare.
right, exactly. So,
And it's better also then to write and reinforce the directions and send them a follow-up with what was discussed.
well, I do.
that
The
too.
next point is a conversation, a detailed conversation. And I start that conversation with, what are you not getting from QuickBooks? What would you like to get from QuickBooks? Why are we doing this? Is it to clean up last year so you can do your taxes? What's the purpose of this meeting? What are you looking to get out of it?
Expectations are so important.
Expectations. So from there, I'll write an email or a letter, and that is a less structured engagement letter. I'll say it more in a conversation. This is what we discussed. This is what I believe I can do to help you. This is when we've made our appointment, and this is how much it'll be. And usually that first appointment, I can say, is going to be around that two-hour mark, and be prepared to pay me this amount at the end of this, you know, the first session, and we'll discuss how to go forward from there. Now, that being said, I just had that this week where I went to a brand new client. We did a 2.5-hour session, and I gave her a half-hour free, big discount. The reason, because I knew this girl when she was 3 years old. So it's lovely when something like that happens, right? And then she tells me, well, I'm really afraid of this computer. I'm afraid it's going to crash. It's a very old computer. So I said, look, we're going to do a backup right now.
Right.
We did the backup. As soon as the backup was done, the computer crashed. Irrecoverably crashed.
Well, isn't that nice you did a backup?
But did you do the backup on an external?
Well, I tried, but it wouldn't accept it. We couldn't see it. So the backup ended up being on the C drive, or it was a Mac machine, which I have, like, I'm PC. I only know enough Mac to get around. So I had no idea. And at that point, she had already written a check to me. I just gave it back to her.
Yeah, that's what
Well,
you
her equipment's not your responsibility, but that was mine.
No, it's not. But it was the first time that I had met with her.
Yeah.
And I'm going to help her get out of this. So she's going to give me that money. I did lose 2.5 hours.
Maybe not. Just because a operating system or system fails doesn't necessarily mean the hard drive's unrecoverable. But
It's at the Apple store right now, and it's been there a couple days. And in addition, after all of that happened, she tells me that somebody called her on the phone and said she had a problem with her internet connection. And that person was, she actually let them on her computer, and they were taking, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
it
my
probably
goodness.
was her machine, and
she needs more than accounting advice.
Yeah,
It's
it's really sad. I've given up working with people that don't know anything about their computer systems. They don't know how they access the internet. They don't know if they have a local area network. They know nothing. And I just can't work with people like that. And I've given them all kinds of advice, like go to the community college where you go to school, find somebody who works in the computer lab and get them to come over and help you. And they don't do it. And it's like, I'm not going to do that. That's not what I do.
I don't understand how any
this was a
owner
young
or
person, the business that they were in, they were trying to get started, and I knew her when she was 3 years old as an adorable little baby.
Yeah. Well, doesn't make her a good client.
But y'all are right. Qualify them up front on the phone. Lots of questions. Cover your fanny financially.
Yeah.
And then those other decisions, just
Sometimes it is what it is.
So I
Janet, you
have
want
to
to tell
ask
us
you
your
then.
experience?
Did you hear Jan?
Yeah,
What-
that was me. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I use Practice Ignition to do my engagement letters now to get those out. I take a different model, especially with a new client. So I quote them up front. I get deposits. I'm not having these issues because I've been doing this for a while, but especially when it's a new client, I track them every 3 months to see what they're doing. Like Yvette said, you get into something, it could be a huge mess, and if you don't get in and look at it, and even if you do get in and look at it, just that initial run through is very tough until you start working on it and then finding out that, oh, I have inventory that, it hasn't been fixed in 4 years or something like that. It's that kind of complicated problem that you really get into and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I did not see this when we went through the review. So every 3 months I'm doing a new engagement for a client for that first year. So it's 4 engagement letters for the year. And it's really just adjusting the pricing based on the initial evaluation. And not once in my 15, 17 years has it gone down, ever. Never. It's always gone up.
I like that idea because so many of us will charge hourly up front because we're unsure. So your model is a set fee based on your initial engagement, and then you keep tweaking it until it evens out, right?
Yeah, and what I do is I use T-sheets, and I set up several item codes that are email, text. There was a couple others because I found out that I was doing it. People were contacting me different ways that I hadn't expected. I forget what it was. Anyway, so in my engagement letter, it just says you get this, right? So when I start doing something for them, I click on T-sheets and put email, and then when I'm done, I have a nice little job report that says, in this time period, I was, I emailed you, 25 times for a total of 15 hours or whatever it was, or text message, phone call. That was the other. Just, is this a quick call? Can I catch you really fast? Well, they're never quick calls.
Never quick.
And no. So I take all of that, combine that with the original estimate, and then I say, okay, so this is where we went over. This is the scope that, the work that was outside of that scope. It's going to be included now for the next 3 months. And then we'll track again and see how you do. And then we track again. And at that point, I do the same routine the whole year. They get nice little reports that says, okay, but what it also learned is they'll stop emailing me, they'll stop calling me as much and texting me, and until they wait to see me, right? Or until I tell them build a list, and then we'll go over the list all at once, unless it's an emergency. I mean, I don't mind. You can call me anytime, but those 15 calls initially end up being, oh, this isn't really an emergency. I can cut it down to 4 calls.
Right.
And when you quantify it, it's easy.
Yeah.
And that
Absolutely.
every once in a while, I might have a client where that might not work, and that I don't want them afraid to call me. So I think once we get into more of the value building versus
Right.
hourly being behind the scenes, in other words, I'll take care of you for these areas for this, and it doesn't matter if I can do it in an hour or 20 hours. So I don't, and so I build in enough time to do those quick questions. My learning curve over the whole changing up the model thing was I really have very little sense of time. So when I think it only took me 15 minutes, and then I'm shocked to find out, no, I really, so that's where I had Crometa for 2 years that really told me exactly
What you were
monitors that maybe I'm in the middle of a client and then I get squirreled and I start on this client, and then I go back, and then after, a couple hours I go, oh, well, I was working on him with this and this. Come to find out, no, I wasn't, so the Crometa taught me what my issues were, and gave me a much better idea of the real time that it takes to do things. My employees are different. They'll open a client, work on a client, stop a client.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't do that.
I am pulled so many. I'm multi. And I'm in the middle of something, and then she'll ask a question. Then So, and I like keeping the wheels going. I like keeping the assembly line going. So my position is more jumping in where I can keep, everything working. So now that I've had my clients a really long time, so I can step back now and look at long periods of time of work and hours and all that, and then came up with a price, what the scope is, and then I quit tracking time. Now that for me, now the employees, I made it much simpler. Unless it's a new client where I really want to learn them, I simplified their timekeeping, but I still want them accountable.
Absolutely.
I want them to go, yeah, I worked 10 hours on that. My budget's really 7, so I better either speed it up or maybe something out of the ordinary was going on.
Right.
That might help me say, hey, that's borderline out of scope, So, there's no right way or wrong way. I think we all just every client's so unique. We sort of feel them out.
But I do like, Jan, your method with T-sheets and giving them a report, because that does show the value of what you're doing. Although I have to say that the more experience you have with them, I think the more they realize your value.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't do it by the hour. I do it, the report is only the things that are out of scope. So I don't give them all of my hours, because I don't want them to equate that. Because you know how people are. They just say, oh, you work 25 hours, well, let's figure that out. That's not going to happen.
Okay.
I just say, these are the items that were out of scope. And I'm just letting you know. And it's all documented. Here's the notes. This is what we talked about. Here's what happened. If we need to go back to the emails, we've got them, or the texts or whatever. But I'm not even kidding. I was in a small business development meeting yesterday, and I had a client. He thought it was a total emergency. He called me 8 times. 8 times. Now I've been with this guy for 15 years, so there was no reason. But in his mind, it was an emergency, right? And I'm like, is the house on fire? No. Did the kids get run over? No. Well, then the
Is
wife is
somebody-
missing.
The wife
Oh,
is
well, you
missing.
wouldn't call me if the wife is missing. Sorry, you'd be out drinking. So no, what I can't really imagine why you would call me 8 times.
Right.
You know, so
Auditor at the door.
I know. And even if I just had a client that had IRS agents show up because they didn't file a 941, and I said to them, well, I sent it to you, and you're supposed to sign it and send it in. Did you do that? Well, I don't think we did. And I said, well, that's probably why. So let me resend it. But they didn't call me 8 times. So
Right. Wow.
it just happens.
I had
You
a
just
client
track it.
fire me one time because it was one of those busy seasons. I had 3 employees lined up with questions, and I get this phone call that the workers' comp auditor's at the door, and they immediately need copies of all the quarterlies for the last year. Da, 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 da. And I said, and when did you make the appointment with the auditor, and how long have you known about this?
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yes.
Here. And I said, I absolutely physically cannot stop right this second and help you. And she turned around and told the owner, and he started screaming, she doesn't stop right now and do what I need to do. She's gone. I said, well, thank you for doing business with you.
It was nice doing
And he
business.
did. He really fired me. And of course, 2 years later, I was back, and he's been a great client ever since. But
Aw,
sometimes
yeah,
you have to train the client.
you do. Well, I think they appreciate you more too,
It's a
don't they, after they come
respect.
back?
It's a level of respect, you know.
Yes, it
Oh,
is. Yes, it is.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
if I had been able, I'd have stopped and helped them. You know,
Mhm.
I'd have given them a hard time, but
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Dennis, how do you handle it? You have a little different scenario. The clients that you're doing are simply project by project. You don't do long term with your clients?
Well, I primarily do taxes, and then I help them on other things. I used to do QuickBooks consulting, but I kind of gave that up because it was kind of like a one and done. And I found that they didn't really want to, they just wanted the bare minimum. And also there were, I don't know, I just felt it wasn't a viable way for me to, to do business. It was more of I wanted something like an annuity, like taxes, rather than, getting into QuickBook messes and sort of becoming the janitor, so to speak, a digital janitor, I guess you could say.
digital
Tired
You
of
know,
cleaning up their messes.
Yeah, essentially. And I don't know, it works for some people. I think to really be effective with QuickBooks, you either need to be doing bookkeeping where you have kind of like an annuity, an ongoing relationship, or you specialize in a particular segment of the market, like point of sale or whatever. But it just wasn't, I just get tired of it. And so now I like doing taxes, and if I could see doing maybe like bank recs and, with zero and that kind of stuff, and just doing kind of CFO type stuff. But it gets to the point where taxes become so overwhelming, it's kind of hard to carve out the time during tax season to do it. And then after tax season, it's like, it needs to be kind of like an ongoing thing, and it gets really hard during tax season. So
it's good and it's bad for you. During tax season, you got to put those guys aside to
yeah,
concentrate on your taxes, but not
And-
tax season. It brings money in for you when
Yeah.
otherwise you wouldn't have any.
yeah. The ironic thing was that I'd get most of the calls during tax season for,
Of course, because that's when they need it.
yeah. So it's kind of, as you get older, you just have to make a choice sometimes.
Right. Exactly. Tiffany, do you want to jump in and tell us? Still on mute?
Sorry,
Okay.
I put myself on mute so you don't hear all the moving around.
So do you want to jump in? How do you handle your billing? Or your clients that suck your time?
The
Fire them.
You fire them.
Fire them.
Unless, or
You
I
can tell the
increase my
ones of
rate.
us have been in business for a while.
What's that?
You can tell the ones of us that have been in business for a while. Fire
Yeah, about 20 years or so.
them. Mhm.
Yeah. Nothing much to add, really. Sorry.
I have a friend who keeps raising his rates until they leave.
The PETA fee.
Yeah, the PETA
P2P,
premium.
right?
I call it the PETA premium.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember what 1988-ish. I was billing out like $30 an hour, something
Oh
stupid.
my goodness.
And someone suggested to me that that was just ridiculously too low and to double it to 60, which was just like, and so I, took a big breath and did it. And I lost one client, which I didn't want. And I actually started gaining more clients. So sometimes what you charge is a signal of your confidence in your ability. And, if I say I'm $85 an hour, I better be worth $85 an hour.
Well, I think some people might perceive, especially more sophisticated people might perceive that, if somebody's charging $30 an hour, they're probably not very good or they're just starting out.
Right.
I mean, that was in the 80s. It was,
Yeah, or they're going to be really busy because their price so low.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I would say the most expensive bookkeepers charge the least per hour because, it costs twice as much to fix what they did,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta admit, since I went to monthly pricing, I love it because I don't have to have this humongous invoice anymore.
I know. And billing is like that. It's taking hours to do my billing.
And sometimes, they don't have a whole lot, and it's just quick and easy, and I love it. Even when I price out on big projects, sometimes maybe I could have made it a little higher, and then sometimes no, maybe I should have made it lower, but it doesn't matter. That's the price. And it's such a good feeling. It's a freedom. And my clients, I noticed that a lot of the clients like it. They like to know what it's going to be for them, so they don't have any surprises. So, I tell you, it has changed my whole practice. And I just love it. I don't spend hours on their billing anymore. And then even though I had everything, set up where, I just could do the bill with the hours and what have you, but it's just easier, so much better.
And do you find that you have to really check your discipline? In other words, if everybody's just paying a flat fee and you're prioritizing your work, at first it's not so bad, but I'm just bringing it up for the people who want to look at this model, is I have to get their work done by a certain time. And they're paying me for the month. But if I don't need financial statements, if I don't need board meetings, if I don't have the critical things to make sure that it's done by a certain day, I tend to find that since I'm not having to write down exactly what I did.
Well, I think it's my personality to want to get things done on time or ahead of time. So I do have a set schedule that I do certain people's book work. Now, it does get thrown out of whack when I don't get information I need, but at this point, I'm pretty much getting everything that I need. Or if something strange happens with one client and it takes more time, it throws off the schedule for the other clients. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I've been pretty good with scheduling. I will allow whatever amount of time on a certain day for this client. The next, Mondays are always this client. Tuesdays are, like that.
Yeah, I calendar everything. Like there's one client of mine that they pay all these subcontractors, and she's constantly sending me every day like 3 or 4 or 5 invoices, and she, because she wants me to pay it for her through one of the payroll companies that we use. And so I finally told her, I said, she's a new client, very nice lady, and I said, we need to get this on the calendar. So if you can talk to your contractors, I'd like to get it, every other week if possible, and then I'll enter them that Monday. They'll get paid that Friday. if we can do that, that's great, because every day having all these invoices coming to me and random, it was just driving me crazy. But getting back to, like what Sarah was saying, what I do is I calendar everybody. Now, every now and then, because I have a team, okay, my team handles certain clients and some I handle. But like I had a member of my team who left, because she wanted to start her own practice. So it's like now I'm trying to find somebody, and now I'm picking up that work. Juggle, baby. It's like it's tough because my clients, they're expecting those reports, but I had to kind of reassess everything, look at my calendar. Okay, who really wants the reports by the 5th and who can wait? And I'm sure we all have that kind of situation every now and then happen,
Absolutely.
So,
I'll tell you where I'm making a little extra money when I talk about scheduling. Say I had a monthly closing type of client where I'm doing bank recs, a sales tax return, and a lot of review and everything, but they don't need anything on a monthly basis, really. Especially the ones that I'm overseeing their accounting staff. And so if I open up the file, do the work, read the journal ledger, that takes time. If I go in and say it's a really busy season and they're sort of lower on my list for priority as far as, the Chihuahuas and the German Shepherds, I may do the bank rec, sales tax return, that's it. And then I might do that, and it's a lot faster to do a quarter's worth of review and work than it is to do a monthly. But yet they're billing me for the year divided by 12.
Right.
So in the long run, I'm getting the work out a lot faster because just of the way I'm, dealing with their account. But I only have a few that are like that, but those are nice.
So, Yvette touched on another subject. How do you handle all of the information you get from your clients? Do they send you emails? Do you have emails set up for them to send the information in? I mean, you can get overwhelmed. Now, of course, if you have a CRM, that's a little bit different. But I, this year, started setting up emails, a Gmail for each client for them to send information to me. And they will send it in whenever they want to. But when I'm ready to do the job, I'll go in and I'll get the information.
That's kind of what I did.
We started using HubDoc and everybody, and I gotta say it rocks the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I get them first meeting, they learn to get the app on their phone and they start taking pictures of their receipts.
So did you find that all your clients, you were able to connect with their bank accounts? Because I was under the impression-
not everybody plays nice, but
Right.
they can always give us accountants only access that we could at least be viewers. And so in the most part, most people are with the major banks. So it hasn't been a big issue.
That's good.
Mortgage statements still need to be pulled and
Right.
for those that need that. But other than that, I think HubDoc is a really excellent solution because then it just happens and you're not having to constantly bug your client.
So I love HubDoc. I want to ask you guys, how many of you are using HubDoc and Bill.com?
I have one client in Bill.com and HubDoc, but she gets a lot of bills in the mail still. So there's
okay. Well, the reason I'm asking, for example, is that integration now between the two. So it's really powerful when you are looking at HubDoc and you get a credit card statement. What happens? It comes into HubDoc and you go in and you tell it, okay, when this card comes in, because it's being downloaded from the bank, at that point, then you link it and say, okay, code it to this account, add this vendor, link it to Bill.com. It goes straight into your Bill.com and it's already coded out and goes for the approver. So
Right,
it takes
exactly.
out all of that data entry. And I'm so excited for them and that integration because now you don't have to have anybody entering the bill. So as they start to build that bank of vendors, I mean, that's only going to get more powerful for us and less data entry, which is just incredible, and hopefully less errors because it's coming straight from the downloads, right? So even if she's getting the bills in the mail, if you're downloading them, they're
Right.
going to go right through.
Right. And I'm also trying to educate the client vendors on getting them set up on the ACH Pay, having them email their bills directly to the bill.com email address or
And
fax
that can be a little bit difficult.
to that.
too.
It's change is slow, especially in the nonprofit world. I'm sure Sarah will attest to this. You know, we've never done it that way before. That's the 7 last words of the church. So, you know, we get there bit by bit. So every year is an improvement.
Good.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then, you know, and you're right, and for that one particular client, I definitely send their utility bills through to the bill.com for the approval steps and, you know, ultimately to pay it. And I have a lot more on auto pay, which is very helpful as well. It saves a lot of time.
Nice.
And then you
Susan?
can't be late and you're not sweating the bullets trying to get things done on time.
Right, right.
Can I ask
Susan, you had your hand up? I'm sorry. Did you want to add anything, Susan? You're muted.
I was just gonna say, that would drive, what Yvette is describing would drive me crazy too, my idea is give them a place for whenever they get around to doing what they need to do, give them a place to send the information, be it an email or online, storage, and you go in and you pick up, when it's your time to work on their stuff, you go in, you pick up everything at that point, do what you need to do with it, and then, move it to a done, of whatever. But yeah, I mean, that exact thing, yes. I was saying yes and agreeing.
Okay, okay.
You know, it having a routine in your office for a client is also, it helps with this argument of my mind just went. When a client, my thought went right out the window. When a client wants to know why you want to be prepaid. You haven't done any work yet. Why should I prepay you? Because you've contracted me for the month. I'm going to set aside time to do your work for the month. And so if you disappear and say, oh, never mind, I don't need you this month, I can't get another client immediately to fill your shoes, and I lose. So couple that with, okay, I don't care how you gather your documents, and everybody's a little different how we go about it, but it has to be in by Tuesday at noon or Tuesday at 5, because Wednesday's your day, and we will take care of you on Wednesday. And we can be flexible to a point for emergencies or whatever, but if they get into a routine that Accounting Services Bureau works on my work on Wednesday, then I can send alerts off from smart sheets or whatever. It's your here's your deadline, or and so your the bookkeeping work becomes routine. So that's real important for that weekly reoccurring type
Absolutely.
of
Absolutely.
Yeah. So can I ask all of you, don't you guys ever get we talked about this before, I always request bank access, bookkeeper's access, just for viewing privileges only, because I can't stand, even when they send me the statements, if there's checks that they have written, I still need to find out what those checks are for, because a lot of the banks don't even give you copies in the statements anymore.
Absolutely.
So for me, every time I onboard a client, once they sign that engagement letter and everything, get those documents to me, I send them an email of what is needed to start the bookkeeping. And that is one of the top things on my list.
There's a couple issues when it comes to bank access. One, HubDoc sort of removes you from that process. They can go to HubDoc, put in their credentials, and now you have access to bank. Bank of America will do bring in every image, check image, and deposit
Oh, that's good.
image,
Nice.
and all the checks that were deposited. I mean, that's just phenomenal. Wells Fargo brings in the bank statement,
It brings in the
check
check
copies,
and
and no deposit.
no deposits. Yeah.
SunTrust Bank brings in statements. So I went around with SunTrust yesterday because I have a Department of Labor audit on Monday. And the client had to bring in all their bank statements
Wow.
because the only place to get the images is in the main bank statement. There are 30 pages a month.
Oh,
And so I was talking to SunTrust Bank and I said, wait a minute. I knew this was true years ago, or sometimes our online access to a bank statement doesn't include the pages with all the images, but somebody better get them, especially in a corporate environment or a business environment.
absolutely.
You can't rely on the bank showing you a canceled check from 3 or 4 years ago if you get in an audit. So, this is it.
So Sarah, will you scan those and put them in digital format now?
I've been doing it off and on all day. So that, and then I bank with SunTrust. So, I called and said, this is really ridiculous in 2016 that you're a major bank and you can't download the activity and you can't get images unless you go click on one at a time. So, and then all the other banks that everybody uses in this area, HubDoc doesn't work with at all. But the technology's there, and so HubDoc is really slick. So I originally went into the HubDoc for thinking just bank statements, but then when you're able to hook up, I haven't done it, but I'm going to do Square and PayPal and the electric bill and anything with an online access, it'll start, bringing all this in. So,
Sarah, and HubDoc, when you use it, does it separate each client?
It makes a cute little folder system.
That's awesome.
And
I'm going to look into that. And who initiates it? Is it the client or us that would initiate?
the client can put in their credentials, or like one of them, I had credentials and it wasn't giving me it was giving me most of the bank statements, but not all of them. And sometimes you have to go back to the bank and go, okay, this particular login doesn't bring in, it's not a bank login because every single bank is different.
Yvette, you initiate it and send the invite to your client, and then they fill in their passwords and things like that. Yeah.
But
So you
the price
initiate
is
it.
per client. It's not like
It
we
is.
have one price. It's per client.
Right.
Yeah, because sometimes it's, when you're dealing with all these clients, and even though I have my own password to their, accounts, it's just like, I'd rather go to one central.
Yes, it is awesome.
And just
It's incredible. I've been using it since it came out. I love it. And the beautiful thing of it, when you have staff, is I add my staff to my account or to a particular client, and then they go in and just get it, and I'm out of the loop. They don't have to ask me. They don't have to ask the client.
They don't have to have passwords that are confidential.
No.
Do they give you bank feeds, or how does that work?
No, it's just
No.
No, but they're starting to have some back-end integration, like with Bill.com, and where it hits HubDoc first, and then you set up rules, and it goes out to.
Yeah, it goes right to those activities. So Tally, I think it works with Tally, Expensify. There's a whole list that they integrate with.
Wow.
So again, it
integrate
saves that data entry.
Nice.
And they integrate with Dropbox and Box.
Dropbox,
Box.
SmartVault.
Every time I go in, there's something new.
Yeah, I know, right?
So at first I thought, oh, well, I'll use it for my 3 clients that use it. Nobody else, but I may start setting them up.
Is there a partner program with HubDoc? I think there is, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, so then your subscription is free.
Okay, so when I call in, I just tell them.
Well, they'll give you a free one.
Yeah.
For
And
an accountant, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
I'll
then
tell you-
based on, I think it's based on your number of clients that you have a reduced rate.
Did you watch
Correct.
Seth's webinar about a month ago? They had somebody from HubDoc, the guy from HubDoc was on there. It was
Mhm.
about 3-4 weeks ago.
Mhm.
Okay.
Jamie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's been there. I think he did another one before. Somebody did in HubDoc for Seth.
Now, I've learned some tricks. This is real important.
We'll have to have a hub doc.
Well, I'll tell you real quick because it's important.
Tell us.
When I linked up my SunTrust account, now if I'd used my husband's login, this wouldn't have happened, but I used mine because you get a free account. So I hooked up the login for my company, and I watched it all. You know, it takes a while. It brings in like 18 months or 2 years. So, and then all of a sudden, there's my personal account, and I'm looking at all my personal stuff go by, and I'm like, that wouldn't be good if that were a client. So,
And it does happen with clients.
So it's
It
very
does.
important that
Yeah.
when they do that very first link, see, then I did it with a client and I had a Zoom and I was watching her screen and here came all her husband's bank account. She totally freaked out. So lesson to self. you have the client put in their login and just let HubDoc do what it wants to do. It will go get everything that particular login is allowed to get and view. Okay.
Yeah.
Then once it's in and you have all these folders, they delete the folders that are personal that they don't want their accountant to see. Then there's another screen that they can go to and they say hide these accounts. And what that does is in the next month when it goes to pull in all the information, it will skip all the personal.
Yeah.
So I would have saved a lot of grief. I'm sure that was in a video that I failed to watch.
It's the client pays for their subscription, right?
I'm paying you.
I pay for it.
I'm paying for it, and I'm just rolling
Billing
that in.
rolling into the
on their
monthly.
fee. Okay, that sounds good.
But that's a good question. And I meant to ask Jamie: is there a way to have a subscription but have it bill?
Yes.
Bill.com. You can have Bill.com bill.
Yep.
Client or you.
Yeah, on HubDoc, you just have your client set up the HubDoc account and you have them invite you as a user.
Oh, okay, so it's just more of a who owns the initial.
Yeah.
Tiffany, how long have you been using it?
I think I've been using it for about a year and a half.
Been around for a
Uh-huh.
while.
Yeah,
How much
they're
time
from
has
Toronto
it saved
here.
you? Yeah. How much time has it saved you?
I don't know if it's time as much
Yeah,
because
I was
then
thinking
you've got
the
to
same
work on the
thing.
two screens. But what I find is the nagging of the clients and nagging for oh my God, give me that statement and I can't do my work because, you haven't given me your Rogers bill for 3 months. And, so now it's a non-issue.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
What's
Tiffany,
important for nonprofits is, and we're really with anything. There's so much online. They get an account and then you get online statements, and so it goes to somebody's email. And as a nonprofit accountant, I don't know if they've ever clicked on it and downloaded a copy for their records. I don't know if a treasurer has viewed a bank statement. I mean, I may go online, get a bank statement and do it for my purposes, but I start using it as a control that I want to make sure that owners or treasurers are actually viewing the statement. So,
Right.
now in Smart Sheets, I've been able to, and this is before the HubDoc thing, they would attach the statement and then I have a date and time stamp. I know they've done it. So now in HubDoc, I know I've got a copy and I'm going to have a copy and I don't have to worry that there isn't, say a receipt on file or whatever. That's one of the reasons I like Bill.com is I know there's a copy up there.
Right. Right.
Tiffany,
I wish that worked in Canada.
I wanted to ask you, Tiffany, when the client is paying for their subscription, so there must be the master admin. Can you still invite staff team members to that client?
No, they have to do it.
Oh, okay. So it's best to keep it.
Is it unlimited use?
Yeah, and the thing is with HubDoc, it doesn't. Oh,
Yeah,
can you,
see, I don't think so.
Sarah? Can
Tiffany,
you
I
add your-
thought once you were on the account, then you could go in and add additional people,
If they're
staff
paying for
members.
it,
Hold on, let me check.
Yeah, because I
That's
thought
a-
so.
Is
I
that-
thought it was like in the
Do
settings.
you
that
have
you can
clients
go in
that do
and
that pay for the subscription?
I think I have one that's paying for the subscription, and I thought it was under settings where it's that little obscure box. I can see it on the left-hand side down below.
Okay, well, we are almost out of time. While Tiffany is looking, Linda, you had an announcement to make. You found out some information this week. You got to unmute.
unmute.
What is that?
The dogs were barking. That's
Oh.
why I was on mute, because I have 2 labs. Finagraph is now free for accountants and small businesses.
Really?
Nice.
Is it the full product though, or is it just
It
the
is.
dashboard? Because they're clearly saying that it's the dashboard. I went and tried to do the sign up,
Oh,
and it clearly says, and you have to scroll through and look at the pricing thing, and it says the dashboard, like the Finagraph dashboard. So I
What?
wasn't sure if they were kind of getting it, so I didn't want to click continue at that point.
well, I guess I don't know what else there is to Finagraph other than the dashboard.
Well, you do don't you have the data upload or connect as opposed to, I don't know.
Well,
God, it's been so
it
long
asked
since
me
I
to
was playing with that
upload my
one.
data, and what I was doing, I just signed up, and it's on between Wall and Main, and
Yeah.
somebody asked, and the reply back was it's totally free, and when you read the if you go to between Wall and Main, you'll see the announcement there, and if you click on it, you'll read it, and it'll say they decided to make it free to accountants and small businesses because and they get plenty of money from their big customers. They said they don't need to get money from us.
That's
And
interesting.
it was
Refresh my
asking
memory
me to
on what.
upload, but I was trying to figure out what file I wanted to upload. If I wanted to upload my file, or if I wanted to upload one of my client files.
In other words, one file would be.
I don't know. That might be it. One file, just my own.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't had a chance. I just saw it.
That's the best way for software companies really to get people to learn their product and all that is let them have it.
And let them have it, and
Yeah.
let everybody have it, right?
Jan, with that HubDoc, where are you thinking the user thing is? Because if I go into my organization sheet, I can manage users, but it doesn't allow me to add it into my client that I'm not paying for.
Yeah, go into the actual client and then look at the settings. Is that where you were
there's
at?
nothing in there about adding users into my, hold on.
Huh.
So we'll come back with that question, maybe next week
Yeah.
or the week
Somebody
after.
will have the answer.
Find out what the answer is.
Sure.
Dennis, you
Maybe
had- Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No,
Who, me?
I just thought maybe they changed
Hold on
it.
a second. I can yes.
What?
Yeah, I can invite a user to access
Yeah.
the HubDoc account. Boy, that's
Yeah.
not very secure.
No.
That's
Well, I
very
mean,
concerning.
hopefully it's just your staff, right? Because it's you, but
Yeah, but I
again-
shouldn't be allowed to add any of my staff unless I've gotten a consent.
well, I mean, I have it written in, but
Yeah.
the thing is that I don't want my staff interacting with my clients. So this is a way for me to assign and cut off that staff. Is like if something happens or I reallocate, I could just go and take out their access and put somebody else in. So I was pretty sure because I've got quite a few clients on it.
My only concern is I've got clients who will actually allow their personal stuff to
Bye,
connect,
Yvette.
and
Mhm.
You don't
they
mind?
obviously don't want it accessed by people, right?
Right.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
If they want to see their personal stuff. See, for me personally, I thought that was pretty cool.
It is very cool.
But I think you can limit what folders that you can't. They used
No.
to be able to in the beginning.
No.
So okay.
No, definitely
All right.
not.
Okay,
Okay.
Dennis has put in the chat.
Sorry, Dennis.
Oh,
for Joe Woodard's videos. Do you
yeah,
wanna-
it's called. Yeah, it's. I just.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
watched-
cool.
Yeah, it's called a tech makeover,
Yeah,
and
Let me
they're.
see if I can go do the
What
other.
is
If I can.
it's called
Tech Makeover.
Tech Makeover. It's
Yeah.
for that bar in New Orleans.
Right, and apparently they're.
Oh, a convention?
Well, you just
there was
watch.
that-
You just watch
Go
the
ahead.
videos on the link. I mean,
Oh, I see. There's a
Now,
Yeah.
who's the one that does that restaurant takeover?
Yeah, so they did that for them, and now they're doing a tech makeover.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah,
They're bringing in
apparently,
everything.
to
They'll be
watch.
doing POS, everything.
yeah.
Wow, nice.
So I guess it's going to be kind of a hands-on
Ongoing.
session, so you can kind of see how
Yeah, they've
people
got a
are
schedule.
consulting or.
Yeah, it'll have to be a series.
Yeah, they use all QuickBooks client or QuickBooks products when they
Yeah.
go in and do this
Yeah.
makeover. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. Well, we are
Reality
a
TV
little
is
bit
the
over.
best.
I'm sorry, does anybody want to say anything before we close for the day?
Are we gonna stay online tonight or no?
Yes. Yes,
We're just not going to be recording.
right. So everyone, we will see you
Thank
next
you very
week.
much, everyone. It was great talking with you. Have a great weekend.
bye, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you,
a
you
great
too.
weekend.
Everyone, see you next week.
Bye, bye.